Hi, Pastor Rich here, and I've been reflecting today on from chapter 10 of the Gospel according to Luke, where through the story of the parable of the Good Samaritan, Jesus teaches that to be a neighbor to someone is to extend them mercy. And mercy is a term that we can understand to mean to extend love, kindness, compassion, and care to others, right? When we extend love, kindness, and compassion and care towards others, that makes them a neighbor. And so my goal today is a simple one. I want to be a neighbor to all my wild neighbors that live on Harris Island. Right here is Harris Island. I'm pointing to it right here. Here's the Front Street Bridge. So I'm in Athens. You see, I'm going to head over to Harris Island in my boat. I still need to put my boat together. That's my folding kayak. But I'm going to take my boat over to Harris Island. And one of the ways that I can be a neighbor to all the plants and animals living on Harris Island is by doing a simple task of removing one of the exotic plants that exists there at present that has a tendency to become invasive. And so what that means is it's a plant that is not native to Pennsylvania, and if left uncontrolled, it may have a tendency to overtake the entire leading edge of that island there. And so if the it's called garden loosestrife, and you'll see it once we get over there. If the garden loosestrife is let to take over the area, that reduces the amount of space that is left for a really great diversity of native plants, including multiple species of milkweed, also blue vervain, and several other species. So I'm going to go with my. Now I have a couple of tools here. I have my garden trowel so that I can make sure I can dig it up by the roots. And I also have, let's see, very simple tool. My trash bag. That way I can safely, once I have dug up the garden loosestrife, I can transport it back to shore with me. That way I don't just leave it somewhere to take root somewhere else. So we're going to effectively remove garden loosestrife. There's at least, I think there's 2 plants, maybe 3, at the leading edge of Harris Island. So let's go and get that done. Well, here we are on Harris Island, and here's one of our garden loosestrife flowers growing among some black willow here. And you can identify it by these 5-petaled flowers. They're yellowish. There's clusters of them at the tip of the plant. And if you look at the stalk of the plant, there are pointed leaves and whorls of 3, and the stem itself is a little fuzzy. Now it's a beautiful plant, but it's not native here, and so it has a tendency to outcompete our native species because there's nothing that's naturally part of its control mechanism. A lot of our native species have insects and other types of animals that help to control the population, right? Like some of our good, nice natives here, like blue vervain, and let's see, I know there's some, here's some kind of a goldenrod species here. So these are good, beneficial native plants that are beneficial. So here's the thing about native plants. Native plants are beneficial to native insects, which are beneficial to all of our native wildlife. There's somewhere in the world where garden loosestrife is a native species that fits in a healthy way into the native ecosystem, but it's not here. So the best thing I can do to be a neighbor to this wild space is to remove this particular plant. So I'm going to get to work, get my garden trowel out, see if I can't get this up by the roots, and we'll see what happens. Well, as you can see, I ended up finding a pretty significant patch of it. This is all garden loosestrife here. As you can see, we got some by the roots, but we didn't get all the roots. Here's a patch of, this is a huge mangled ball of roots under these river cobbles. I tried to get at it as much as I could, but this is why invasive plants are so invasive. One of the reasons is they're so hard, so difficult to eradicate. Well, there's more than I initially thought out here. Here's our whole bag full of garden loosestrife. So I'm likely going to have to come back to this place maybe once a year to continue to manage whatever new growth pops up from this garden loosestrife next year. But what I've done today will help to serve to control the spread of this invasive species and help to provide more space for our native plants to thrive. Like this is the one, I think this is the one called Indian hemp. That's a nice native. And you see we got some little trees popping up here too. There's some sycamore trees here. So lots of good natives. So I'll continue revisiting this spot to manage the invasive species that pop up so that I can be a neighbor to this space. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this brief video about controlling the spread of a particular invasive garden loosestrife, and I will see you next time.